What if I told you that the absolute best way to achieve your biggest goals is to stop aiming for them directly? Yeah, I know, it sounds completely backward, but it's the core of this incredible idea called obliquity. And today, we're going to unpack how this one concept might just flip everything you thought you knew about success on its head. So, think about it for a second. Any major goal you've ever had, right? In your career, your personal life, whatever. What's the first thing people always tell you to do to get there? Well, chances are the advice you got looks a little something like this. The conventional wisdom, right? It always tells us to draw a straight line. You set a target, you get that laser focus, and you just bulldoze your way through anything that gets in your way. We're always sold this idea that the shortest, most direct path is the smartest path. But is it really? Well, what if that whole approach isn't just a little bit off, but actually makes things worse? You see, in a world as complex as ours, a perfect straight line almost never exists. This direct approach usually falls flat because it completely ignores all the messy, unpredictable variables, the human stuff, that actually shapes the journey. And this brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today, the oblique approach. It's such a powerful and honestly a much more realistic way of thinking about how we actually get things done, whether we're talking about business or just our own lives. So at its core, obliquity is basically this, the idea that our most complex, our most meaningful goals, they're often best reached indirectly. So you're not aiming straight for them, but instead, you're pursuing these related intermediate goals that kind of get you there in a much more natural, organic way. So, instead of that rigid, straight line, the oblique path is flexible, it's adaptive, it's all about exploration. It's a path that actually welcomes the unexpected and understands that the journey itself can show you destinations and opportunities you never, ever could have planned for from the starting line. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does an abstract idea like this actually play out in the real world? Like, say, in the cutthroat, hyper-competitive world of business? Well, as it turns out, a lot of the most successful companies out there are absolute masters of obliquity. So you've got two different playbooks here. On one side, there's the direct strategy, maximize profit no matter what. Cut corners, push aggressive sales, you know the drill. But the oblique strategy, it takes a totally different route. It says, hey, let's focus on building the absolute best product we can, or creating an amazing work culture. Profit, in this view, isn't the goal. It becomes the byproduct of doing something else really, really well. And you see this everywhere. Take Patagonia. They didn't make maximize profit their number one mission, no. They focused on making incredible gear and being environmentally responsible. And that sense of purpose, it created this fiercely loyal customer base that trusts them to the ends of the earth. Or think about Southwest Airlines. They famously put their employees first, which in turn created legendary customer service and decades of runaway success. And the results of thinking this way go way beyond just, feeling good about what you do. It creates real, tangible business advantages. Customers that stick with you no matter what, a brand that can survive any crisis, and sustainable, long-term profit, all built on this foundation of a workforce that's genuinely happy to be there. Now, this isn't just some high-level stuff for big corporations. The exact same principles of obliquity can be a totally transformative way to think about our own personal growth and our life goals. So the obvious question becomes, okay, how do we actually do this? How do we get away from that rigid, goal-oriented checklist for life and start moving towards a more fulfilling, oblique kind of path? Well, it really starts with three key shifts. First, you've got to redefine your destination. So instead of just chasing external things like a certain salary or a job title, focus on your internal values and passions. What really gets you excited to wake up in the morning? Second, you have to be willing to explore interesting detours. Go take that weird class, travel somewhere new, volunteer for something you care about. These are the experiences that enrich you in ways you just can't predict. And finally, and this is a big one, learn to see setbacks not as failures, but as unexpected and incredibly valuable learning opportunities. And this brings us to a really profound point, doesn't it? When we start to adopt this oblique approach, we realize that personal growth and that feeling of fulfillment, they aren't just waiting for us at some finish line. They're actually discovered all along the winding, wonderful, and unpredictable path we take to get there. So let's kind of wrap all this up. At the end of the day, obliquity isn't just a strategy you pull out of a toolbox. It's a whole new mindset. It's a way of looking at the world that is just so much better suited for the complexity and the uncertainty that we all face every single day.
This oblique mindset means you stop trying to fight uncertainty and you start using it to your advantage. It's all about building your adaptability. It puts a premium on human values like trust and cooperation. And maybe most importantly, it gives you permission to be flexible, to change your plans when the map you started with doesn't match the world you're actually in.
So look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. In life, in business, in anything that truly matters, the straightest line is almost never the best, the most fulfilling, or even the most effective route. Because ultimately, this isn't just some clever trick or a new strategy. It's a fundamental framework for not just succeeding, but for truly flourishing in a world that is, and let's be honest, always will be, beautifully unpredictable. So I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. Think about a major goal that you have in your own life right now. What do you think might happen if you stopped staring directly at it and instead you started exploring an interesting detour?